Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for another fabulous tutorial. My name is Nealay Patel, and I'm the owner, designer, and educator here at SilverSilk and more. And I am so excited to teach you guys a brand new project using the SilverSilk Loom. And this bracelet is what we're going to make. I love this project, and I especially love the jewel loom as well. It is a fantastic tool used specifically for silver silk, but you can use it with other fibers if you want to. Today, we're going to learn how to warp with silver silk. I'm going to teach you guys how to weave in those beads. And I'm going to teach you guys how to kind of clasp everything together with this fantastic little bracelet that we're going to make. So I'm kind of just eager to get into it, to be honest. And I'm going to flip my camera around and we're going to go through all the different line items that you need to complete this wonderful project. So let's get down to our bead board. And I do want to talk a little bit about the Jewel Loom SilverSilk Loom. It was created again by Jules Avlar. It's got her signature at the bottom. And we were sort of discussing a way that she can brand her product, which is the Jewel Loom, with SilverSilk. And so we came up with this wonderful loom idea. You can see that there are 3 sets of combs. It is a 10-inch long board, and you can create a lot of warps with the different little grooves there. And the grooves allow a couple different things. First of all, the material is made out of wood, which means that whenever you do press silver silk into it, it's not going to crush the knitted wire chain. It works best with pearlesque, leather, pipe chain, and capture chains. So it gives you quite a bit of versatility. You can probably use it with flat mesh if you kind of wedge it on its side, or even some filling of the hollow mesh with some beads and then using that as a warp. This is the perfect size for a bracelet, and it holds everything nice and steady as you sort of weave everything into place. We'll be using the top notches for today's project, and we're going to be using capture chain as well. So you guys will get the basic idea of how to weave with it and create a really easy, fun, quick project. So I'm going to go ahead and get into my materials list. And we sort of talked about the bead loom, the SilverSilk jewel loom there. And you'll also need a pair of flesh cutters, which I'm just going to get my handy dandy Lindstrom cutters to cut anything. And you'll also need a pair of chain nose pliers, which look like this. I have an entire video dedicated to how to use the tools that I like to use for jewelry making. I've listed that in the video description, so definitely want to check that out. Also, if you're enjoying the content that you're watching today, please do subscribe to the channel and give it a big thumbs up for this video. And leave a comment if you enjoyed the tutorials or just learned anything new. I'm always curious to know, and I do comment back. I'm going to talk about the large hole gemstone beads because how yummy are these? This is Tiger's Eye, and it's got a few different color variations, so it's got a lot of like story to the bead, you know? And these have a larger hole, which is perfect for what we're going to be stringing it through, but you can really see that they drilled quite a bit out. We're talking probably about 2 to 2.5 millimeters of a hole size, and they are faceted. It's got a nice rounded, soft facet to it. It's not a chiseled edge, but these are really cool. They're quite sparkly, give a very good offset to our SilverSilk chain that we'll be using, and I'll show it to you guys as we sort of work down the list here. You'll need not only the 21 large beads, but you'll need a couple to set aside for embellishment, because what do we love here at jewelry making and the land of SilverSilk is, of course, embellishment. And so not only is it functional to do this within this project, which I'm kind of excited about, but also it just adds a little bit of extra movement to the design. And who could hate that, right? So I'm going to set that aside. We're going to need that. We're going to need 2 10-inch links of capture chain. This is the Urban colorway for SilverSilk Capture Chain. Now, Capture Chain is a amazing, revolutionary knitted wire chain. There is a ball chain core, as you can see, in a gunmetal color, and knitted over that is silver colored wire. It's permanently enameled, so you're not going to see any sort of wear and tear over time, no color chipping off from that silver. And it's as thin as your human hair, if you can believe it or not. You can also cut it in different lengths and it's not going to fray. There might be a little bit of bits at the end. As you can see, there's kind of one that's kind of waving back and forth there. And all you do is just pluck that out with your pliers whenever you're kind of ready to crimp it or secure it with the end pieces. And so that kind of gives you the finish of it, but it's really soft. It's really supple. As you can see, it's got a nice drape to it too. So this makes it the perfect warping medium for the SilverSilk jewel loom. And so you get a full 3-foot spool whenever you ordered it online. And whenever you're constructing this piece, this piece, you will actually just need 2 10-inch lengths of the capture chain. Or you can kind of do what I do, which is just double it over and use that as the final like warp piece to work off of. It kind of saves you a little bit of silver silk, to be honest, but I think it also just creates a more stable warp. But there is no right or wrong way. You can do it both ways. If you want to pre-cut it, by all means, go for it. And if you don't want to, and just want to work off of the spool, then you can go ahead and do that. You will need 2 double-strand end caps. These have 5 layers of plating because they are custom made for SilverSilk Capture Chain. They have little grooves on the inside to capture the ball chain core. So you don't need any glue or any special tools other than your chain nose pliers, preferably dipped in a product that will coat it with something soft so that whenever you crimp it, it won't scratch. The product I like to use is Tool Magic, and so these have been worn over time, as you can see. I need to, in fact, coat it again as it's been chipping off, but it does give you a very nice rubberized coating, and so that just helps protect the end cap from any sort of marring and abrasions that might happen when you're crimping. But honestly, if you just use something that is soft, like, I don't know, cloth or something to kind of cover your chain nose pliers, masking tape, you can crimp down on it and it'll be fine. Okay, you'll need 1 lobster claw and 2 jump rings. Again, these are from the SilverSilk store and they do have the same plating technology as my end caps. So it's nice to just have consistent color across the board though. So first step is to figure out where the bottom and the top of your loom is going to be. I'm going to have it at a sideway angle just to kind of give you guys the full scope of the view since we're sort of in a horizontal format here. But I am going to go ahead and warp my jewel loom. So I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm just going to give a subtle little press there on that first notch. It doesn't go down all the way and it doesn't have to. So, and you've got enough room to crimp at the end. You want to leave about 4 beads of the ball chain available to crimp at the end. Okay, I'm going to go at the top. I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze that down the same. I'm going to skip 1 groove, which will allow me to have my bead comfortably fit between the SilverSilk. And then I'm going to loop it around as I kind of mentioned earlier. You can cut it if you want to. I don't think it's necessary on this first part, especially since you get a full spool to work with. And then at the end, I'm just going to squeeze that right down into that groove. And right now, I think I'm just going to leave all of my tail SilverSilk left. That way I can kind of cut it to a precise fit at the end. And I think it's really just because I like hoarding SilverSilk, and I also just don't want to waste any. So there we go. All right, we're all kind of outfitted now with our SilverSilk loom. And the next thing is that I'm going to grab one of my 2 gemstones that I've set out, which, by the way, you want to go through your gemstone beads and pick out the ones with the largest holes. You really just need 2, one for the beginning and one for the end. So I went through and I grabbed, or at least tried to, the ones that had the biggest holes that will allow me to have multiple strands of that leather cord through it. And so I want to put that right there, and I'm going to grab my leather cord, which, by the way, I don't think I covered in my materials list, so I apologize. But we can talk about it now. And this is just standard 1mm leather cord. It's in a natural color, and I've got 2 yards of it to work with. And I think for this project, I'll need just about 2 yards of it. So we're talking 6 feet here, and I'm just working to find the middle. So I will gather up both strands, grab my bead, and I'm just going to drop it down to the middle. And as you can see in that picture, I am going to go into my warped strands there and just kind of position it to where it's ready to be loomed for the first bead. So let's move on to step number 2, which is crisscrossing my 2 strands of leather cord. So one is going to go one way, and I'm going to grab the end of the other one, and I'm going to try and find a spot to fit it through. If I can get partial way there. Oh, it looks like it's going to go all the way through, which is perfect. So I've got them now crisscrossing within the bead. And so I'm just going to pull on each one of them. And I want to be as even with my leather cord as possible. But you can kind of see that now I've got that nice little bow. You want to have really good tension. And also, you want to be about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch down on your knitted leather cord there. So I like to start right at that Jewel Loom logo for any of my projects, really, and have it kind of ready and situated to go. So that's going to be my start point. And I want to be, well, I want to have enough tension on my loops, but I don't want to be super tight with it and end up crushing that silver knitted wire. And anytime that you feel like the knitted wire is coming loose, just give this a gentle little tug and press it back down. Sometimes it'll want to pop through because you're working with it, as you're looming, but otherwise it's going to stay pretty stable. Okay, once I've pulled it through, the next step is really just to put both of these leather cords straight to the back. So I'm going to grab my right side and I'm going to go under the chain and pull it through. And I'm going to do the same thing with my left side. Pull it through. Alrighty. And this sets us up for the next bead. So what we do is we add a bead. Okay. And same thing with the other side. I kind of just lay it there until it's ready to be woven through. Perfection. And all we do at this point is we just tighten it. Watch what happens whenever I send both of these wires, or these leather cords, excuse me, to the back. You can see that that just evens out so beautifully and stacks right up against that first bead, and that is exactly what we're looking for. Let's stitch a few more together. When you string on a bead, you can actually automatically go straight to the back of the left one when you're starting on the right side. And then grab your bead, weave through, and then send your leather cord straight to the back. This just saves an extra step in your weaving process. Okay, grab a bead, string it through, weave to the back. Let it sit in the middle of the 2 capture chains, and then I'm going to grab my leather cord on the left side, go ahead and weave it through the bead, and then weave it to the back. Simple action twice, and you have got an amazing stacked row of beads. Now, how cool is that? It's so simple. So you just keep going basically toward the end of your bracelet. So, as you can see, I have beautifully woven all of my gorgeous beads onto the chain. Isn't that amazing? And we're ready for that last and final bead. So here's how this works. Sometimes your leather cord is going to get kind of worn out at the end. This one seems okay, but I think I'm just going to trim it off a little bit at a sharp angle, and that's going to help me kind of work with that last bead even better. Okay, and I'm going to do that to both sides just to be safe. Okay, there we go. I'm going to grab that last bead and I'm going to weave through. Well, I'll string through the bead, weave under the bottom. Okay. I will string through the bead from my left side to the right and weave through the bottom. I won't quite tighten it just yet. I want a little bit of give to this because what I want to do is pick up that same strand that I just strung through and I'm going to go back through the bead again, making sure that I have looped around my capture chain. You could see it's on there. Okay, it is exiting the bead out here. As you can see, I went ahead and cut it earlier, as you saw, and that made things a lot easier. So at this point, all you do is just kind of tighten everything up. Okay, so both of my leather cords are now exiting to the left. And it's because I've looped it back around into that bead. Pretty clever, right? And this is going to give me my lovely finish at the end because now I can kind of turn it on its side and make a little knot here on the edge of my capture chain. And you can then take the two beads that you set out for embellishment and just string those on. So I'm going to go ahead and just string on one bead here, and I'm going to just tie a regular square knot. You can even use some Loctite glue to hold it in place, that little knot, so that it's not going to come apart later. So I just trimmed it off there, and I'm going to do the same with this side. I'm going to stagger them so that this one's a little bit longer. Pretty cool. And just trim it off. And so now I'm ready to attach my end crimps to my bracelet. Now I went ahead and made a 6-inch length. You might have to make it longer or shorter depending on your wrist length. The reason why I made it 6 inches and not 7 is that whenever I go to put on my end pieces and my clasp, it adds on that extra inch at the end so that I have a fully 7-inch length bracelet when all is said and done. So I'm just going to slip it off gently from the loom, put my loom aside. So I like to do either 4 or 5 beads of the ball chain, roughly about, I don't know, just a little over a 1/2 inch. Okay, you can see not much wasted there. And you kind of just gather up the ends, make sure that there's no little like wire fuzzies, as I like to affectionately call them, which are just little end pieces that sort of are residual and can be plucked off once you cut it. Now, the knitted wire actually won't fray at all. It's just the wire bits at the end that tend to kind of get in the way of crimping. So let's talk about the end caps for a second. They're half open, but what I like to do is really go in with my pliers and just open them up even more. This makes it so much easier to crimp. Okay, I'm actually going to switch to my wide nose pliers dipped in Tool Magic, and I'm going to go in to both of the channels at once with my knitted wires. Okay, 2 of the beads of the ball chain will actually fit into the channels there. And once you've got a pretty good hold on it, give it a good squeeze. And I like to squeeze it a couple times on both sides just to make sure that seam is nice and closed. Okay, there we go. And just tug on it to make sure it's not going to come out. And that is one secure binding. Okay, do the same thing to the other side. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it off about, let's see, about right here maybe? And right here. Might have to peel some of this back just a little bit to get a bit of ball chain there, but I'm just going to, again, clean up the wire ends, just take out any of the wire splinters. That's probably the good word for it. Little wire splinters at the ends here that tend to get in the way of crimping, and gather them up. I'm going to open up my end cap just a little bit more by using my chain nose pliers. Definitely helps. And then make sure your logo side is facing up just to be consistent with the first side. And go ahead and push that right into the channels as you did before. Okay. Squish once, double check it to make sure everything's in there, and squish again and again until you get a nice secure crimp at the end and a little cute embellishment. How do you like that? So at this point, you've got a 7-inch bracelet. All you need is a clasp, which I have here. And I'm just going to use my chain nose pliers to open up the jump ring, slip on my lobster claw, go ahead and feed that right into my double-strand end cap. And then the other side just has a simple little jump ring attached onto it. And you, my friend, now have a stellar, gorgeous little bracelet that you've probably made in minutes. How do you like that? Isn't that cute? I just think this is such a quick, easy win for the jewel loom. I love working on this, and there are so many possibilities to how many projects you can make. Not only just with this one technique, but can you imagine 3-needle or like leather cords, or I don't know. Now my head is spinning with ideas, so I must sit down and sketch out some more. But anyway, I hope you enjoy this project. If you love it, please subscribe to the channel and make sure that you check out the other videos in the library. Give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you tell your friends about SilverSilk because it is too fun to hide, right? And keep to yourself. Stay inspired. I'll see you at the next tutorial, and I hope you have a fantastic day.